Welcome back to McRaeathon. We are a 2-day speedrun event held here on the McRaeathon and BSG's channels. Through the power of the internet, we'll bring you 2 full days of racing goodness from the comfort of our homes to your homes. Right now, we have Peppercorn with Colin McRae Rally 2, as well as having Hamman on comms, so I'll let you two take it away.
I said I'd come back. And also, yeah, pay attention. Pay attention next time to when I say I'm going to come back. But also, we did just get a donation, and I do want to read that out because I didn't get a chance to read any donations beforehand. We've got a €10 donation from Howlin' Mad Mike, who comments, "Huge thanks for Viper, Tech, Host, and McRaeathon for having me on hosting duty. BSG and all others concerned for making such an amazing event for such an amazing cause. And I thank you for the donation."
Okay, right, Ham, I appreciate the enthusiasm, but thanks for introducing me, Hyperlink. I'm Peppercorn, and I just figured that I found it kind of sad that this at McRaeathon, this one of the best Colin McRae games was not in, and I had to jump in on that. This was a great injustice.
Yeah, it was especially crazy in 2022 because there was no McRae runs like at all. So that really took me by surprise. But yeah, thank goodness the injustice is being fixed up here.
Yeah, I would have loved to run the proper championship, like maybe the novice championship, but it was just too much practice to do on a short notice. Besides, I think the challenge mode is rather unique. So there's that. Right, shall we get started then?
Sounds good to me.
Mm-hmm. Right. Oh. Right. For some information, I will be doing this in automatic because there is a glitch on the PC version where, for some reason, specifically doing the super special stages, it eats your inputs, specifically regarding the shifts. I think it has to do something with the way that the second player is simulated, but point is, it makes it a lot more frustrating. So yes, I will be running this in automatic, just for consistency's sake. There is no specific requirement to run at a specific level, but I will be running medium for some marathon safety, simply because I am a little worried. Right, there's five stages total: Japan, Greece, Sweden, Kenya, and United Kingdom. And we'll be doing them in order with the maximum number of rounds. Right, we kind of will start when I start my first round, after I start, okay? So, tap time? Okay. So...
No, I think you have
would you give us a countdown?
Just take it away. Oh, wait, considering the Broken Hyperlink is the host, I'll let them do the countdown.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, no worries. So we'll go from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Good luck with your run.
Okay. Ooh, and we got the first pair. Funny.
Nice.
Okay. I love the concept of this, specifically, like, in the context of this game. Like, the fact that this is effectively a 8-player local multiplayer mode is crazy to me, because to consider this was actually part of the PS1 version as well. Thinking about like having 8-player local multiplayer is crazy in itself, even if it's technically only like two-player split screen. Still, the format is just really fun.
Yeah, from what I can think, the only other game I can really think of which like advertises an 8-player multiplayer mode is Smash 4 and Smash Ultimate, which has the 8-player Smash mode, but even then, that's a bit of a mess.
Yeah. It's also kind of neat. I also found it a little sad that the Japan Rally only exists as a super special in this game, but at least we got Japan expanded to a proper rally in the later entries, like 3 and 4. Ooh. Okay, I am a little... Okay, that's round 1, pair 1. See?
You know,
Magic
it
time?
actually took me a little bit to realize that this was a challenge mode run, and that's really like intriguing, particularly for me, because the challenge mode speed run for this game was actually the first speed run I ever did. I think it was in like 2017 or something, or maybe 2016, when I was like 11 or 12. I didn't know how to take good driving lines. I emulated the PS1 version for the run, so that already lost me like 10 minutes.
No, I actually think Silent Patch already was out at the time. I think it's 2016-ish.
Yeah. Well, this was when actually wait, no, hold on. As I said, I emulated the PS1 version for the run, and I think my time was something terrible, like 46 or 47 minutes. I think I nearly failed on one of the Sweden stages as well.
I also want to point out that people are like saying that you have the nice soupy. I find also like fun that's like this game also features a very rare occasion of having the GC8 Impreza. Actually, no, that's not a GC8, is it? Basically the first gen Impreza, and it's not a 555. It's not the brackets that are technically not the 555, and it's not the Subaru Swoops. It's very rare, because usually that's the only liveries you ever see it in. The only other game I can think of that has a classic first-gen Impreza, a different livery, is maybe Dirt 3, because it has the custom liveries that are dedicated to like the Colin McRae school. Also, yes, Toyota Corolla. I so love the Corolla WRC. It's a shame it doesn't appear in more games.
You know what? You know which Subaru Impreza you're forgetting about? You're forgetting about the one from Rally 2005, which has the unique silver livery.
Oh yeah, that's one. Fair point.
But yeah, the livery for the Impreza was actually different depending on where you lived in the world. For both of the PS1 entries, actually.
I think one of the game versions does come with these Subaru Swoops. Like the
that was the
stars.
Yeah, those were the release versions. Like any of the initial release batches came with the swoosh Impreza, and then any of the ones released afterwards, including all the European releases on the PS1 and any of the translated releases for the PC in European countries, came with the Spike Impreza. And the other big international changes. That was quick. And the other international change is that the co-driver, which is normally Nicky Grist in the release versions, if you're playing it on the US PS1 version and only the US PS1 version, you get a completely different co-driver whose origins are actually unknown.
Oh god.
Yeah, we know who...
Speaking of that, one thing that puzzled me very much as a kid when I played this game was that in the language select, for English language, it's instead of using like the UK, like the Union Jack, this game uses the England flag, the white flag with the red cross. Also, this is not a restart. This is continuing a run.
Yeah, I only know.
That's the way this run goes. If you run, it's a single elimination tournament, and you run 4 rounds at each track. So this is the final.
It's like normally when there's a flag which represents the English language that the games use, it's either the American flag or the Union Jack.
Or the British Union Jack.
Yeah, so
and
so
it weirded me out so much because as a kid I didn't know about it, and I couldn't read English, and my version was, localized weirdly where the text was just replaced, and I changed the language, and I was trying to. Okay, so that we're done with Greece, so there's that. Wait, not Greece. We're done with Japan. Now we're going to Greece, and I feel very bad that I forgot to point out that the Japan Super Special actually is hosted inside like a like an oval, like a speedway. You could notice that it's on the infield of a like banked oval.
But yeah, I find it really funny that Japan isn't in Rally 2.0, but the special stage is and the special stage would then be remade in 2005 where Japan was a rally. Like, it feels weird. But yeah, that point you were making before about the language select, could you continue with that?
Yeah, I was just very worried when I was like, okay, yeah, I just need to select the English language. That's the one that's been, like, you know, packed to be translated. Then I scrolled through the language list looking at the flags, and I didn't see a recognizably English flag. Because I did not know about the English flag, which is specifically the flag of England, white with the white with red cross.
Oh, that's particularly funny to me because I've seen a few people describe the Union Jack as like, oh, it's like a code because like all of these are combined, and I was like, isn't that kind of obvious? But I guess
it's obvious once you know it.
Yeah.
And it's obvious to put together when you know the source flags, but like, admittedly, like, have you even known about the specific flag of England? Because for the longest time I've only known of the Union Jack as the English flag. It's also funny to me because actually there is a related thing that I found interesting is while I was doing a different rally thing, I found there is an interesting difference between McRae and Burns because you can say, funny, if you go, I think it was in Colin McRae Rally 4, that if you go to the co-driver audio, most languages are listed by language, so it's just, you know, French, German, Spanish. But apparently, from what I've heard, neither Nicky Grist nor Derek Ringer wanted to be labeled as English because they are respectively Scottish and Welsh.
Mm-hmm.
No, Welsh and Scottish, that's my bad. And so, like, no, and I found it really funny that in language select you have French, German, Spanish, Nicky Grist, and Derek Ringer.
Yeah.
It's just like, an interesting thing on, you know, cultures and nations.
Yeah, there's this one stock photo of McRae and Grist both playing Rally 2.0 with them like looking at a CRT, not even with a DualShock, and I can just imagine that a few minutes prior they saw that screen and then they went, wait what?
They were I imagine they would be upset. It's kind of fun. It's also kind of interesting because if you look at the cars at the time, there's an argument about whether it's the country's flag or the national flag. If you look at McRae and Grist, they would always rock national flags, so it's the Scottish Saltire. Meanwhile, if you look at Richard Burns, who is English, and Burns and Reid, they're both Englishmen, and they rock the Union Jacks.
And maybe it's a preference kind of thing?
I mean, no, it's mostly like a point of settlement on whether it's country flag or it's national flag that's required to be displayed.
Huh, right. And, yeah, there was something else I wanted to bring up before we started talking about the flags, and it goes back to when you were talking about when I was talking about the regional differences when you brought up the Impreza livery, because Rally 2.0 isn't the only game which has regional changes for the Impreza livery, because the first game actually has 3 different Impreza liveries depending on the place it came out on. Wait, no, hold on. Let me reword that. It has 3 different liveries depending on where it was released and when it was released. If it was from its initial release in if it was from its initial release in Europe, then you get the swoosh Impreza. However, if you had the release in America, then it was Richard Burns' Impreza. So you literally couldn't use Colin McRae's Impreza in Colin McRae Rally if you were playing the game from America. Yeah, and what's even funnier is when they re-release the game under the that's actually a mystery to this very day. But we know why the third one was there. Because for some reason they weren't able to reuse the swoosh impreza by the time they got around to re-releasing the game. So when they re-released it under the PlayStation's greatest hits area, they had to remove all the decals from the impreza, and so you have a stock impreza instead of the rally one. So yeah.
Okay.
And what's really funny is that Colin McRae Rally isn't the only video game and video game
Naturally, games always have stuff like that.
Because if you know Sega Rally 2, they actually did the exact opposite. You have Burns' impreza if you're playing it from Japan, but then everywhere else you get McRae's impreza.
Yeah,
I think that's the way around it was, but I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to.
The thing that puzzles me is mostly the fact that, like, it's not like they have different sponsors, so it's not a sponsorship thing. But yeah, with that being said, we are done with Greece, I believe, and we are on to Sweden, which is oh, I've restarted the challenge instead. No, we've completed it. Challenge. Yep. Sweden. This is a stage that this is. Even though it's not the last one, this is the one that gave me the most trouble. And I might be a bit more quiet for this one because it's very much... I found it more challenging than either the Kenya or UK. They're supposedly coming later and are harder. No, I found this one to be the hardest. And arguably this one is the reason I decided to run this on medium difficulty. Just for marathon safety. Which is actually unnecessary because technically, because this only depends on how fast you run. From what I've seen, most speedruns do this with easy AI. But I figured that having medium AI just to keep us, on the edge would make for a more interesting show. Just a little threat there.
Yeah, I get what you mean. When I did that initial speed run all the way back then, like I said before, Sweden almost ended the run because I made a mistake, but I was able to make a recovery in that initial run quite easily. But even still, Sweden's really difficult. This is the thing I really like about this game is it's very much old school arcade in the sense that collisions very much do slow you down. Even though it feels like you bounce off, you lose a decent amount of speed, so this one is really an exercise in patience and braking. And I respect that. I've always found that, mechanically speaking, I found this game to be holding up the best, because its arcade physics just hold up so well because they're so sharp. Yeah, I get what you mean. It feels entirely different to the PS2
era. Yeah, the PS2 era is very different. But I've been explaining to my friends. It's like the gist of this series, if you want to try it out, is there's one which is the debut. There's two which is objectively just a better version of it, and it's old school arcade goodness. And there's the PS2 era, and these ones I feel like it's better to go in reverse order. If you play 2005, it's pretty much just Colin McRae Dirt 0.5. You can see even the design language bleeding through. And then you go on to 4, which is... I think it has like a very... I love how the Colin McRae Rally 4 has the development minigames, like the car tests. It's generally like a very nice playing game, but its presentation is bland. And then I've always felt really charmed by 3. Because it has such a different vibe. Where you have the very sleek and techno look on both 2.0 and 04, you have this very hopeful little happy 3. It's entirely different. Also, going to shut up and focus a little because
Yeah, you're gonna have to lock. You're gonna have to lock in for this. Well,
okay, yeah.
we'll
I'm
continue the
pretty sure I
conversation.
got this, but still. 3 is just very different in that sense. Okay, and... Okay, yeah, we take those, we take those, we take those.
Alright, nicely
69,
done.
nice.
So, yeah. What were you, Oh yeah, you were talking about, Colin McRae Rally 3. I'm gonna be honest, I feel the exact same way that you do. I think Rally 3 probably has, at least in terms of the classic series, my favorite, like, general style out of the games. Like, if I had the modding skills to entirely remaster one of the games, I would remaster Rally 3 because
it really stands out to me, and that I still like Shoot Friends as a design example is, if you look at them from a gameplay perspective, 4 is a straight upgrade. It has more content, it has the minigames, it has better physics, it has everything better, but 3 still holds a better place in my heart because it's a great example of how presentation is everything. 4 is incredibly bland with its presentation. Like, all you get, and the biggest offender to me was the championship victory. Because when you win in 4, all you get is a single, still, pre-rendered image with the car you chose. And while it was still an interesting fight for the podium, it was a rather disappointing finish to it. But then you play 3, and you win the championship. The music ends, you're left on the black screen where you're looking at the results in silence. You can just look at it and let it sink in, and then when you proceed, and it's not just a rendered screen, you're loading into the podium. It still has the map screen loading into the podium as if it's another stage, because that's where you've traveled to, with the location, time of day, and it's a proper podium sequence where you get up to the podium and okay. I was a little more tense about this than I should have, but okay. Okay, and now we have the finale. Okay, Lance.
It's like if there's one major thing, like if there was only one thing I could change about Rally 3 and then nothing else, it would be the controls, because like to me Rally 3 is sort of frustrating in the way that I want to love it. It feels the most unique out of all of the like modern-ish classic games, but the controls just feel like a Flash game.
I think honestly they feel kind of that across all of the PS2 ones, admittedly. But I would say though, I was thinking that you were gonna say that you would add the ability to run more, not just as the Ford Focus, because while the game has a lot of extra cars and whatnot, it was a little disappointing that you could only run the champion. I get why you could only run the championship with a Focus, and that was a brilliant move in reducing the scope of the game so it would be have a little more polish. Not even speaking of the excellent cutscene that happens when in the service part, where you're just actually witnessing the work, but still, I was a little disappointed as a kid when I found out that yes, all the other cars you unlocked are only there for single stage time trial. Isn't even a rally mode that would it's not even a custom championship or anything of the sort. It's just you're either doing the whole career with the Focus, or you're doing time trials with whatever you want. And
yeah, that in particular,
that was a little
really,
so that's
really
Sweden. I can breathe out a little bit of a sigh of relief, and press restart it again. And okay, let's see. We're on to Kenya.
Yeah, the only way I've been able to somewhat play as a different car in the career mode is by spending an entire day making a mod which adds the 206 in the game and pushes the Focus on to replace one of the other vehicles. And then you don't even have you're not even done there. You have to go into the particular textures to edit all mentions of Ford in the career mode to switch them from like no, that ain't McRae, that's Gronholm, and then there's textures for it everywhere, and then finally you have to edit the hexadecimal data of the EXE to change the name of Colin McRae to what you want, and then probably move him over to the separate car, and then you have to switch around the car sounds. All of that to pick a different car in the career mode.
It's almost like what the game. It's not what the game was designed around.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great example of how presentation can carry a game and make it that much better. It's for that reason alone, it keeps a very special place in my heart. But still, it's not aged very gracefully. It's still great, but fun. But meanwhile, this, because it has the amazingly sharp arcade physics, this game with the silent patch to make it run smoothly and DJ Voodoo to make sure the graphics run alright, this game is as beautiful and as sharp to play as it was the first time. And this is why this is a triumph of stylization and low-poly stylization, because I know that these models are not very high quality, but it does not occur to me because the texture work is done very well and the general shaping is overall very nicely done.
I remember, like, when I jumped from the PS1 version to the PC version, it honestly felt like going from PS1 to upscale Dreamcast. That's how it felt to me.
And actually a good way to put it. It's not quite PS2, but it doesn't have quite have the post-processing to pass off of the PS2 game. But I think I might have to also do with how Dreamcast generally went for this sort of flat, more flat-colored aesthetic. Not necessarily flat-colored, but less post-processing, and more so just the bright colors. You could see that this actually, it makes perfect sense, because this game is, I don't necessarily want to say it's a spiritual successor, but you could very well say that this is building on the success of Sega Rally. It's not necessarily meant to be a spiritual successor, but it's very much, if you think about it, this was directly competing at the time with Sega Rally 2. And no shade thrown at Sega Rally 2, but as far as PC games here, this is objectively the better one.
Yeah, because
as much as I adore and like Sega Rally 2, it's great, but this is something greater.
The thing is, right? When it comes down to how the when it comes down, let me try rewording it. It comes down scene of rally games. Before Colin McRae Rally, they were completely all over the place, and nobody really knew what they were doing. And then the first hallmark of it was the Sega Rally Championship came out, and everyone was like, okay, maybe we could do something similar to that. But it was kind of in this ugly phase when nobody really knew how to get
super again.
But then the first Colin McRae Rally came out and basically went, listen, this is how you do it. You get physics like this, tracks like this, and you make it fun. You understand?
I mean, honestly, in the fun department, it's hard to beat Sega, because this is something I've talked about in a different way, is that this is, a lot of games try to go for realism, but both Sega Rally, and I'd argue this too, these are more like impressionist works, in that they are not going after the real, like trying to be as real to the experience. They are trying to be as close to the feeling of this experience. These are not maybe not rally sims. They are not as close to the real deal. They are as close to what you think the real deal is. What it feels though. It may not,
because they would
maybe it's It's not. Of course, this is not making me. Like playing this game is not making me a excellent rally pilot, but it makes me feel like one, and that's the important part. This game it's an impressionist sport. It captures the feeling, captures the impression, and it's a better game for that.
Yeah, it's sort
recently
of like
heard a very good phrasing regarding this, especially regarding modern games being realistic to their detriment and the phrase is this: they're missing the artistic forest for the realistic trees.
It's actually a really good metaphor, but to go back to like the initial points you were making, it's because both of the games were going for like the same goal at a different angle. So like Sega Rally was sort of a make it a game that people can like walk up to, play for a couple minutes, and maybe be wowed by it. Give them some like good controls, like they're actually driving a car. And then boom, we landed it, because you know Sega Rally was coming out in a very different environment, whereas Colin McRae Rally was trying to capture the general style of Colin McRae. That putting down your foot and then just going through some of the most dangerous places in the world with no care as to whether you live or not. You know, that kind of angle. But yeah, the point.
I get your point. It's the difference between feeling like a rally driver because of how effortlessly you're doing this, versus feeling like a rally driver because it feels like you're doing all the rally driver things, like actually counter steering a lot and accounting for sliding and stuff. There's a different approach to it, and both work excellently, and I love both games. This is why I am all for game preservation, because while this is fairly easy to run nowadays, Sega Rally 2 is infamously hard to run on modern PCs, even with the fan-made portable patch, which works on some PCs with Windows 10 out of the box, and then doesn't with some others.
Yeah,
also, this is a little too close for comfort, but okay, we also 42.
Yeah, you brought up preservation, right? But like the way like I like to run Sega Rally 2 is that I run the Dreamcast version on an emulator, specifically Redream. Because if you have Redream Premium and you can upscale the game, it's immaculate. That's all I'm gonna say. It doesn't even have the frame rate issues on the proper.
In the meantime, we are now on to UK, which is the final location, and so we are in the final bit of the run.
Considering we are in the last bit of the run, do we have any time for donations, Hyperlink?
We do.
Yes, actually, I was just about to jump in there. We have a €4, I keep on to say dollars, I'm so used to dollars. We have a €4 donation from Zola, simply with the question, Skibbity.
I'd rather not tell him that.
I would like to announce that with that, we are now €10 away from hitting our all-time record of €262. So if you want us to smash that, please, folks, get your donations in. Ideally, we want to try and even smash 300. But if we can get past 262, that would be amazing.
But yeah, the one good thing that donation message and what it's referencing is given was like this one meme I saw which said, when you realize that Skibbity Toilet 65 was 2 months ago, and then it's a baby, and then a slightly older kid. That's the best way to put it. My God.
I'm gonna ignore that, but yeah.
Yeah.
It's great to know that we are on the cusp of making the record for donations.
Yeah, only 10 more, and
yeah.
Okay, I've been thrown for a loop now. What have I done?
It's a very warming feeling to know that to contribute to this.
Yeah, but back to the point you were making about game preservation. It's kind of up in the air whenever like a game is too old for it to be easy to play on original hardware. as to whether you should go for like a PC release or an emulated console release. You know?
Ideally, both should be available. First off, ideally both should be available, because if the game is abandonware, it absolutely must be preserved. And second is, yeah, this is what we need PC emulation for as well, to preserve games like this that are not as easily replayable. Because I will stand by this. This is a game that I would recommend Maggie to play in this year, despite the fact that this game is it's 2000, so that would make it 24. I think it released around late 99 technically. Or actually, no, was it late 99? I think it definitely was out during 2000. So this is a game that is in its mid-20s, and it is still just as good to play as it was back then. You should do yourself a service and buy this game now. That's the thing about great gameplay design, is that it still feels fresh. It does not have, arguably, one of the pitfalls as maybe the AI being absolutely ruthless on tarmac stages, but that's just the difficulty of the time, where at the time it was supposed to be brutally difficult. The difficulty spike going from intermediate to expert will get you very quickly.
Yeah,
because it kind of ramps up. So if you're going from the end of intermediate to the start of expert, you will feel, it's okay, but going from intermediate to expert at the start of the game is absolutely killer. And this is also how I found out that this game has a game over screen. I was playing it on novice and intermediate, I legitimately didn't even know that this game has a fail state. If you don't finish above 8th out of the 16 competitors, the game just says you did not qualify. Game over. And
that happens for Colin McRae Rally 4 as well, but that's only if you don't get enough points at a specific period in the championship.
Huh.
Yeah. And it's funny because I think the reason they did that was to make it so that you can't retire from 4 rallies and then really easily get a few of the bonus cards. I think that's what they were
I'm imagining that it's specifically so that you can't just cheat it by doing having perfect record on the first bunch and then no. Okay, that was rough.
But yeah, there is one more point I'd like to
sorry.
There is one more...
And we choked at the very finish. If we're actually having if we are on time, we can try to salvage this in this rerun. That was the third one. We'll see if we still make it under estimate. If we're not, please tell us if we are under estimate, and if we're not, I'm gonna take the L with honor. Tried my best to keep up.
We are still under estimate, Joe, currently at 34 minutes.
Okay, so I'm gonna try to really quickly catch up. I've lost a couple, 5 minutes, I think, because I fell at the semifinals, so I lost 2 races worth of progress. Which goes to say, don't text and drive, because I was trying to see what was said in the chat. I suppose I should have asked you to read that.
What's funny is that despite that, you're still miles away from my first run that I was talking about earlier. That was 46 minutes.
I believe that you absolutely can smash that record.
Yeah, if I come back, I could breathe on that record and it would fall.
Well, hey, here's something to look forward to in next year, maybe.
I guess, but yeah, the one thing I wanted to bring up was you mentioned what makes a game a classic, right? For me, if anyone's heard of the YouTuber Cat Icarus before, I think he had a really good way to determine if a game is a proper classic, and that's if it passes the that was test. you know, you take a game, you go, oh look, it's Crash Bandicoot. That was all right, wasn't it? And then you take a game that was particularly good, and then you can look at it and go, oh look, it's Colin McRae Rally 2.0. That was fantastic, wasn't it? But then you take a game which hasn't aged too well, and actually, wait, where am I going with this?
I'm not sure, but this is still kind of vague, and what I would say is good mark of a game that aged well is that you can give it to a new player that has never played it and is not even maybe part of the same generation of gaming, and you could give it to them and they could generally enjoy this, because there are some games that don't age well because they're simply built for a different audience, because we've changed since. But this game aged beautifully because I could give this to my friends that played Dirt 3. They would find this absolutely amazing because it still plays excellently. It's like it didn't age mechanically a whole lot. Ooh, bit of a bounce, but it didn't age mechanically a whole lot. It's still responsive. It's still fun. It's the difficulty curve if you're playing career, the championship is somewhat respectable. It's not absurd, even if it spikes a bit during the Karmic Championship, requiring some really sharp reflexes.
But
as it stands, you can give this game to a kid who's just growing up now, and they would enjoy this like you have enjoyed it in your time.
But yeah, you know how I'm actually kind of an expert on this topic because
really now.
Ignore the example I made beforehand, but like most of the games that I play are actually games released more than 6 years ago. We'll say that that's kind of the basis, and almost all of them feel play like they did when they came out, or how I envision people thought they played when it came out. Like Dirt 3 is a primary example. I got that when it was just a Steam key, right? And when I did, it honestly felt like I had been like like a click of the fingers, and I was all of a sudden in 2013. So Digital Duck is laughing at the 6 years ago thing, but
yeah,
like
6 years ago is. We had, I believe, actually now that I think about it, yeah, Dirt Rally was more than 6 years ago.
Yeah, the first one, and we wouldn't, but and I don't know if anyone
actually,
here would call
I believe that at this point, the second Dirt Rally was also 6 years ago. It was 2018, wasn't it?
Jeez.
But yeah, the thing about it, it's not even like, oh, we would transport it back to 2013, but is holds up, and the thing I've really come to when I shared Dirt 3 with friends that are fairly new to Rally is that like, there are some games that like capture rallying differently, realistically, but Dirt 3 is enjoyable. And the word we all came to is, this is video games. It's very video games. It's built to be enjoyed, to be extremely fun. And we are at the final race, and let's hope I don't choke again.
The rematch. But yeah, the main point I wanted to
and this one is also it's very video games.
Yeah. The main point I wanted to make there was that the console that I'm actually like binging in terms of its library right now is, of all things, the PSP. Because a lot of people don't really think about it, and I in particular got 2 of them. So if I really enjoyed a game, I could get a second copy and then play the wireless LAN at college during waiting times, and it has been quite the experience.
Okay, I can say that generally speaking, I can really relate to the bit about like mostly growing up in old games, as I never really had the budget to have a cutting edge gaming PC, so most of my gaming experience was always with games that were past their prime and are no longer like, relevant and like often enough not online anymore. I've discovered Dirt 3 just 2 years ago, I believe, and honestly, like, that's interesting thing is like these games still capture the atmosphere of a time, even if you haven't really necessarily been there. We discovered, and I've never had a console even, and revisiting some of these games that were console classics nowadays is like living out a childhood the parts of a childhood I never had. This game is genuinely so fun to play, and we are coming up on time as soon as we cross the line. And I probably should have called time to this earlier. I'm very sorry, but yes, that would be time.
GG.
I was gonna naturally say it seemed like a particularly solid run to me, but then I realized he lost at the second to last stage. What are you talking about, Ham? What are you talking about?
Honestly, let me 41 minutes, a minute 30 over the estimate. Well, I'm going to take the L, and I'm going to say that, yes, I did my best, and I tried to be. And you know what? For charity, I will accept this L. It's all worth it in the name of charity, of especially one for mental health.
Hey, that's the nature of the game. Sometimes it happens.
Exactly, and that's part of the game, and I'm willing to go with it. That's the spirit of Rally. Just rolling with the mistakes and keeping at it.
Oh yeah, and Hyperlink, before I do sign off, apologies for reading out the first donation. Apparently, in terms of the regulations, I absolutely shouldn't have done that, but I kind of wanted to try it because I
might also point out that you did this before I even had a chance to introduce myself.
My bad.
I can't blame you for being excited though.
It's no worries. But yeah, thank you for that run, Peppercorn. Very interesting. I'm sitting glued to my screen just watching it. It's very therapeutic to watch the McRae games. But where can people find you?
I've been in the process of renaming my stuff recently, but it is usually in most places. My handle is PeppercornYeen, spelled in a single word, and I'm trying to stream more on Twitch as of late, and you will probably find the rest of the updates there. Not much yet, but it's a start.
And Haman, where can people find you as well?
Yeah, I'll be signing off for the day, but if you guys wanna find me, I have renamed myself a few times as well, but those were years and years ago. But if you want to find the most relevant stuff from me, my nickname is just Hamman, though my Twitch name makes it look a lot more absurd than it actually is. So I'll type it in the chat as well. There, 2 M's, 2 N's. It's like man from TF2, and then Ham
from TF2.
Yeah. It's not like 20 bajillion. Don't worry, it's not that absurd.
In the meantime, I'll just poke in as well, and there you go.
Alright, well, thank you. Go ahead, sorry.
Thank you for having me here, and thanks for hosting the run. Thanks to everybody for watching. Thanks to the kind people that donated, and thank you for hosting. Thank you for commentating, and
that'll be me.
Good luck to all the runners that are still to go.
Good luck.
Absolutely, thank you. Well, folks, we're going to go down intermission as we set up for our next one from Ventillo, which is Super Wound GP2, so don't go anywhere.